Hey everyone, what's up? As some of you may already know, Adam won't be around for the next few months due to personal reasons. But don't worry, I'll be stepping in as your new narrator, and I'm super excited to take you on this journey with me. I'd really appreciate your support and love as we dive into some incredible stories together. Today, we're diving into one of the most bone-chilling Reddit stories ever shared. A tale so terrifying, it's hard to believe it actually happened. But before we get into it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss a story that'll leave you questioning reality. Let's get started. The knife came out of nowhere. One minute I was ordering a slice of cake from the waiter, the next there was a flash of silver. My brain registered that the waiter had whipped out a knife only after I had automatically recoiled from him, sliding further into the booth. Without conscious thought, I picked up and flicked the steaming cup of coffee at his face. The knife slashed past my face, missing my eye by a hair's breadth. I thought I saw an eyelash fall. The waiter screamed as the brown liquid plastered his face and dropped the knife. I stared wildly around. There were only two other guests in the diner. They seemed rooted to their seats. A chef stood at the kitchen window, frozen, mid-plating, garnish still in hand. None of them seemed to be in any hurry to help. I was trapped in the booth by the window and had the option of trying to climb over the high-backed seats to the booth behind, or to clamber over the table to make a leap to the next booth in front. The waiter stopped clawing at his face in those short seconds. He flailed his arms out at me as I sprung up onto the seats. He missed, and I yelped as I leapt onto the table, then attempted to springboard past him. Still half blinded, the waiter turned and grabbed something off the ground. The knife. Damn it! He swung back around and I prepared myself to leap from his reach. A shot rang out, accompanied by the shattering of glass. I ducked, falling to my knees. I swiveled my head, desperately trying to spot where the shot had come from. There was a thud by my side. The waiter had collapsed to the ground. The back of his head was a clumpy red and gray mess. An acrid, metallic scent, tinged with gunpowder, enveloped the place. Screams. It took me a while to realize I was a contributing instrument to the symphony of screams. The police arrived shortly after. They didn't know who had shot my assailant. I certainly didn't have a gun on me, and had 3 witnesses to vouch for my innocence. They assumed a passerby had intervened and run, for fear of repercussions for shooting a man dead, justifiable or not. No one on the streets witnessed the shooting, or so they said when asked by the police. I think I puked at some point. I don't think I'll ever forget the way the gooey, lumpy substance had trickled out his head and down the sides of his body. The police had no idea why he had attacked me, what my would-be murderer's motivations were. They didn't even know who the waiter was. He had apparently appeared out of nowhere with a fake identity and took the job as waiter just a few days before I dropped in for my usual coffee and cake breakfast. I didn't leave my house for 2 days. When I finally did, it was for a crisis at work, something I had to personally deal with. I was terrified the whole journey. Every little thing made me jump. I made sure to mind my own business and kept my eyes averted from others. I was almost at the entrance to my office building when a car pulled up next to me. I was so relieved at finally reaching my destination that I didn't notice the window in the passenger's side wind down, didn't notice the gun pointed straight at me, didn't see the face of the person holding the gun. Not until another car rammed into the back of that car, and the shot went wide. As the bullet struck the concrete wall behind me, missing my head by a couple of inches, I stared straight at the shooter. Their face was covered by a mask, one of those cheap white masks with eye holes that you could buy at any party store. I saw them curse, then turn to aim the gun at me for another shot. Their head exploded. One moment, I was looking into hard eyes gleaming through the white mask. Next, there was a headless neck perched on lifeless shoulders, blood splattered all over the dashboard and seats. The body slumped forward. I found myself joining in the cacophony of screaming. once again. Before I could recover my wits, someone grabbed me from behind, and the cloth was pressed over my mouth and nose. I struggled as they dragged me to the car, the one that had rammed into the first car and ended up saving my life. They hadn't even slammed the door shut after me when I passed out. I awoke to darkness. I was still in a state too groggy, too out of it to panic, when I heard a voice. The odd robotic timbre made it clear a modulator was being used. "You need to stay here. It's to keep you safe. It's just for a short while." I didn't respond. My tongue felt swollen and dry, like a dust ball had enveloped it. "We will not harm you. It's our duty to keep you safe." That was all that was said. I raised my head off the ground and sat up. I was relieved to find that I wasn't bound or tied. Who the hell could have done this? They said they were keeping me safe, but they had basically kidnapped me. But who would kidnap me? Was it one of my recent one-night stands? Did I offend anyone on a date? Was it a bitter colleague, an angry ex? I couldn't think of anyone I could possibly have offended enough to be kidnapped for. Or attacked at knife and gunpoint, for that matter. Minutes passed in the unlit room, then hours. The darkness was absolute, the silence unyielding, punctuated only by my panicked breaths. The air was stale, a mix of sweat, earth, and disinfectant. Respite from the isolation came only in brief interludes whenever I was fed. A little rectangle of light would appear at the door, followed by a tray of food slid through to me. I refused to eat food I could not see, and so they would turn on the lights for 5 minutes while I ate. There was a loo in the room, which I could freely use, though the darkness made it hard to navigate. I tried to go only when the light was still on. Besides the meals, nothing. At some point, at my desperate pleas, they said I would be released in a matter of days. But time in that dark room stretched endlessly. The wait between meals felt like forever. It's surprising how agonizingly slow time passes when you have nothing to engage your mind with. No phones, no books, no chatter, nothing. I began to suspect they were torturing me in some sick, psychological way. I began to wonder if that was it for the rest of my life, trapped in darkness, alone. When nothing changed after the 9th meal, I counted. I ignored the 10th meal. I stayed unmoving, ignoring the lights in the tray that slid into the room. I didn't bother to slide the tray out when instructed to. By the 15th meal that I had ignored, I heard voices outside the door. I pretended to be fast asleep and didn't stir. It was easy to lay still. I had barely moved since I started skipping meals. I was consumed by hunger and thirst. All I could think about was a tall glass of iced lemonade and eating peanut butter from the jar. "We need to let her go," I heard someone say. It wasn't in the modulated voice. It sounded like a woman. "She's not eating. She could die at this rate. She's been passed out for the last half a day." "It's not safe yet," a man's voice responded. "We haven't caught all of them." "It's one guy. One guy escaped. He's probably busy fleeing, and we've locked down their time door." "You think there aren't others? For fuck's sake, she's the butcher's mother. There's gonna be others keen to end her." The exasperation was clear in the man's voice. "But we've stopped the only group with access to a time door," the woman snapped. "What do you need? To lock her up for years as we hunt down every single person who might try to take her out? We might as well end her ourselves," the woman snapped. "Would that be so bad? It would save hundreds of lives," the man asked. "Stop it. She's innocent. She's not her son. And it's our job to keep the timeline intact. We cannot let history change. You know what could happen." "She did produce a monster," the man retorted. Then he sighed. "I get it, okay? I know my duty. It's just, I see why they're trying." There was silence after that. I was left alone once again, except for the meals I ignored. I was finally certain. I had been kidnapped by a bunch of crazies. I had no son, and was a proud, card-carrying member of the Child-Free Club. I ignored 3 more meals before I heard their voices once again. This time, through the modulator. I could barely focus through the fog of deprivation. The door will be unlocked in 10 minutes. You will be free to leave then. I didn't speak. I didn't trust them. It could all be a cruel joke to give me false hope. Others will be coming for you, the voice spoke again. You have to be very careful. Take all precautions to stay safe. That was all. A while later, there was a click at the door. I struggled to my feet and almost passed out when static encroached my vision. I pushed past the weakness and dizziness and made my way to the door. To my immense relief, it opened when I twisted the knob. I won't bore you with details of how I made it home. But I made it home safe and made a police report once I had choked down some food and water. No one tells you how much difficulty, how much stomach-twisting pain you would feel eating and drinking again after days of fasting. I sure as hell never tried to fast before, and never will again. The police were, once again, useless. I directed them to where I had been held, but they gleaned nothing from the room or the surrounding area. There was not a single evidence or clue to be found. They concluded that I had been kidnapped by a bunch of mentally unwell people, and that they were also behind the attacks. The officers told me they would be in touch once they had more to go on, and that my house would be under surveillance for my protection. I would also be escorted to work for the foreseeable future. I took a week off work to recover from the whole ordeal, or try to, at least. It was a mind screw, to say the least. I couldn't make sense of anything that had happened. Even in the safety of my home, I was drowning in fear. Every little sound made me start and reach for my baseball bat. My period of starvation also made it hard for me to consume food and drinks again. I puked several times when I tried to eat, and it was hard for me to keep water down. It was only after a fourth morning of nausea when I called the officers parked in front of my house to escort me to the convenience store. I needed to be sure. Once I was alone in the house with my purchase, the officers back to surveillance duties, I peed on the stick I bought. The 3 minutes took forever to go by. There it was. A bold line and a second faint line. Well, that's it for today's terrifying tale. What did you think? Could you imagine experiencing something like that? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theories, or if you've ever had a similar experience. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the story, and subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story that'll send chills down your spine. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there.